What's up, guys? It's Uncle Freedom coming to you from another glorious and well-deserved day off. So I did a video a little while back talking about some of my favorite folding knives, some of the story behind them. That video got a pretty good response, so I figured let's do a top 10 with a couple of honorable mentions for my favorite fixed blade knives. So go ahead and like, subscribe, tell a friend, share this video because we are growing more and more every day, and that is actually pretty cool. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first up on my list, these are really in no particular order. I could pick or take any of these. First one's going to be my SC6. So this is the SC6 HM. It's actually a new one, a replacement for one of mine that, well, it's been beat to shit. I really like this knife. I did not like the original SC6. I had it. I hated that super blocky handle, but the SC6 HM has got this much more like svelte, bushcrafty. It's almost got a French trade knife shape to it. 3/16 of an inch thick, 1095. Excellent hardening and heat treatment on the steel. It's got that traction coating on here, so it is going to give you some issues throwing sparks. But I haven't stripped it off this one yet because I'm still using my other one that's beat to shit, but I don't want them to discontinue this and me not have another one, so I went ahead and picked up a second. That is the SC6 HM. So on this guy, we're looking at a 6-inch blade, 1095 again, 3/16 of an inch thick. Just a workhorse, all-around great knife. And I have noticed with the rounded handle scales, this is a very comfortable knife for a lot of work. This time I ordered it up with the Kydex sheath. Last time I got it with the leather sheath. Not a big fan of the clip on the back of this guy, but the sheath is nice itself. So next up on here is one of my favorites, and I own multiples. This is Jakari Puko from Verastalka. I'm going to butcher that. So this knife is actually a traditional Finnish Puko design. It's made in Finland. 80 CRV2 steel. It's got an excellent bevel on the back here. Really, I mean, just rips a ferro rod to no end. This guy is the 110 size, so the 110 size basically runs out to about 4.5-inch blade. It's right at 3/16 of an inch thick, but it's just an exceptional knife. I mean, it's kind of a utilitarian, no bullshit, no frills, just workhorse of a knife. It's comfortable no matter how you hold it, but really the rock star for this thing is the sheath. So the sheath itself is leather. As you can see, it's a dangler hook up on the back of it here, and you'll see this retention snap. Now, what's cool about this is inside of this part of it, I actually have like Kydex or plastic, and I have a plastic blade sheath on the inside. So no danger of me actually cutting through the threading on that, which is really cool. But what I love about this is that is super secure, and then I can snap it for even more security. No rattle or anything. Just pop it loose, rip it out. So this is an excellent sheath. It's probably one of the coolest sheath designs I have ever seen. I have one of their Skarmas coming in now because I need to know, and it looks cool. But yeah, this is one of my favorites. This is the Jakari Puko 110. These are really cheap. These are about 50 bucks without the sheath. And excellent freaking knife. So next up from that is one of my babies. This is the Mora Classic #1. This is traditional. I don't know how else to put it. No, I'm not going to chop down a tree with this, but I can beef or chew through some stuff. I've used it for a lot of carving, animal processing. The Classic #1 is about a 3 3/4 inch blade. It's about 0.10 millimeters thick. It's a thin blade. It's basically a 1095. Pretty decent edge retention on this guy. Sharpens up really easy. It's got that full Scandi grind. You can see like one part of it's super shiny, and the rest of it is definitely chewed up. Now these do come, the spine is rounded, so I actually filed a flat spot in my spine, so I get a better purchase on a ferro rod. But I love this knife. I've had this knife forever in its original sheath. I've got a sail needle taped to the front of there. I wear this around my neck. I do not wear this on my belt. But by all means, this is legit probably one of my favorite knives I own. So next up, #4 on this list that we're going through is an Essie, another one. So this is the Essie Azula 1, and comes in a standard sheath. Now I've actually modified mine with a leather overwrap so I can wear this small back. Belt goes through here, and I can snap this up and actually wear it. I know you can do it a bunch of different ways, but I've been running it like this for about 6 years. I love this. little guy right here. So this little guy is about 2.75 inches long for blade length. I actually have the aftermarket micarta scales on it, which I love. I get a full hand grip on this guy. I've used this for all kinds of stuff. It's freaking awesome. I have another one of these that's in an uncoated blade that I used a lot. This was actually a gift before the birth of my second daughter from a friend of mine out in California who said, you know, it's for the diaper bag. So I've run this ever since then. This is 1095 high carbon steel made by Essie knives. This is the Essie Azula. I really wish they still made this orange one because that is just absolutely one of the sexiest knives you'll ever see. Kind of a Boltron sheath. Holds an edge great. Been a super excellent knife. So next up for me is a cheaper knife. Now, back in the day, Condor was releasing knives left and right, and it was all 1075 high carbon steel, but they had the Nessmuk, they had the Bushlore, they had the Hudson Bay. We didn't have all these crazy ones that we've got now. 1095 was not a thing. They were pretty well known for the best fucking leather sheath in the market. Like, these things were awesome. And as a guy that makes leather stuff, these are exceptionally well made. But my favorite one I got out of that group was the Condor Kephart. So this one's a little thinner. It starts off at about an 1/8 inch thick. It tapers down all the way to the end. I've got scarring all down the back of the blade where I've used this to light flint and steel, using this as the steel piece. Yes, it does work. I love that very basic drop point kind of a design to it. Very minimalistic handle. The handle's got a taper from the front to the rear, so it fills out your hand really nice. This has just been a great knife. I have used this for all kinds of stuff. I have done all kinds of bushcrafting tasks with it. I've batoned wood, I've made things, I've cleaned animals. This has been just a rock star of a knife. So again, it's 1075 high carbon steel, so not as good as 1095. It's not going to hold an edge that long, but it's been plenty tough. Like I said, right at an 1/8 of an inch stock, but something to keep in mind is this tapers down the whole way down to the tip. It's got a very nice distal taper to it. 4.5 inch long blade, so kind of that perfect size do all for the woods, and it's been great. And the sheaths are freaking amazing. Real fan of this knife. So next up on this list, actually before we get in the next 5, let's do 2 honorable mentions. I have 2. I don't have either one of them down here with me, which is why they're honorable mentions, because they don't get carried a lot. One is the Becker BK7. So it's about a 3/16 of an inch thick, 7 inch long blade, real nasty clip point. I mean, it's a brutal knife. I mean, it'll pretty much do anything. It's in 1095. But it doesn't get carried as much because I don't like the thumb ramp on the back of it going onto the blade as much. And then my other one, which does get carried, it's actually in my backpack upstairs, is my DPX Hest. I fell in love with that knife a long time ago. I mean, you're talking something damn near 1/4 of an inch thick, 3.5 inch blade, 1095, or no, I think the one I have upstairs is D2 steel. Traction coated, handle scales that are made out of micarta, decent sheath, it's got a little pry bar on the end of it. I mean, it's a freaking amazing knife. They're great. They're expensive though. I mean, it's $150, $160 for a 3.5 inch blade. But it doesn't fall into the list of my favorites. It's just a cool knife. So going back to our list. So number 6 on that list is going to be another Veristolka design. Another Tarava Jakari Puko. This is the Jakari 85. So this is the very small version of that. Same really cool sheath with the hard plastic on the inside, the same clip retention, and another dangler, though this one doesn't move. But this is the 85, so this is about a 3.5 inch blade. It's made out of the same 80 CRV2 steel with the same angled grind on the top, so it really rips a ferro rod well. Same overmolded handles. I get a full one-hand grip on this guy. It's just not very long. This is an excellent smaller knife design. It's the same. It's not really 3/16. It's more 5/32 territory for thickness, but it's just a freaking awesome knife. Love that little upswept tip we got here. This thing's been killer. Love it, and I get that same positive retention on this guy. It's just been a cool freaking knife. I highly recommend these guys check them out. I mean, this knife with the sheath is like $60, so pretty cool. And then on to favorite of everybody, the Mora Bushcraft Black. You know I can't have one more, but only one more knife on this list. Some people hate on Mora sheaths. They're not that bad. You can get aftermarket leather sheaths, but I still carry mine in the original sheaths. I love the Mora Bushcraft Black. The handle is very comfortable. The tang is a little longer coming back into about here. It's not as fragile. It's an 1/8 of an inch thick. Basically a 1095 high carbon. Excellent Scandi grind. Just a freaking lightsaber razor blade. Rips the shit out of a ferro rod. This is just a really great woodsman's tool. And I will say, if you told me, man, I got 50 bucks, I need the best knife I can get that's going to do the most stuff in the woods for me, from cleaning game to making stuff to just normal generalized tasks, I'm going to tell you to get a Bushcraft Black all day long. Because the sheath may leave something to desire, but this knife will not let you down. They're just great knives. They're made in Sweden too, so excellent knives. Really have had no issue with these. Good retention on the sheaths. So pretty cool stuff. My camera's moving. So next up from this guy, it kind of gets a little different, and this is actually mounted on one of my plate carriers, and that is the BK18. The K-Bar Becker BK18. This is in full coyote tan with the coyote tan scales. Harpoon blade shape is really wild. 3/16 of an inch thick, 1095 high carbon. The handle, I do wish this handle was a little thicker right here, because I have big hands and I find this gets kind of, it's got some room to shift in my hand. But overall, not a terrible knife at any stretch of the word. Great sheath. Instead of coming with the normal Becker sheaths that are pretty fucking terrible in nylon, this actually comes with a really, really nice Kydex sheath that's got really great retention, which is why it's mounted on a plate carrier. But this is an awesome knife. If you were to say defensive moves, this would work great. This would also do great in bush chores and tasks. I have a black one and this tan one. The tan one is just prettier than the black one right now. So I have I beat the living crap out of the tan one. So sorry if I just made you motion sickness, but I don't want to start over at 11 minutes. So on to number 9. And number 9 on that list is a Tops knife. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with Tops. I love this sheath, and this is the Tops Cut 4.0. So the Cut 4.0 is like a Swanson, that guy design. So it's basically a 4-inch cutting, and I've got an excellent, like 3/16 of an inch thick, 1095 high carbon, traction coated. Micarta scales on this guy. I mean, this just locks into your hand. Like, this feels great. I would not be afraid to do bush tasks with this, but it's also got an air of that defensive capability to it. I can wrap on this and actually use it to pop things, but when you actually hold this, it actually locks your hand into this guy. Like, you can't and don't want to let go with it. So really cool design. Great Kydex sheath with the pull the dot straps. You can see I'm wearing all the shit off the buttons. Excellent retention. Just a cool knife all the way around. And then last but not least, everybody's favorite bushcraft knife of like 2000 and like probably 13 or 14 was the Becker BK2. And I, like most everybody else, had to have a Becker BK2, and I, like most everybody else, did not leave my shit alone. So aftermarket Kydex sheath on this guy. All of the traction coating is gone off of him. It is well oiled because it's been in storage. I got micarta scales on this guy. It is a sharpened pry bar, 1/4 inch thick, 1095. But it actually has a straight up mirrored edge on it. This is an absolute razor blade of a knife, and which is good because as thick as it is, it needs to be sharp. This is not a great slicing knife. This will absolutely cut down a tree, build a log cabin, dismantle a car, and then kill the terrorists that are trying to attack you. It's just cool. Like Chuck Norris reincarnates as a knife. This is Chuck Norris as a knife. Like, Jesus Christ. The original sheath that came with these is junk, so hence I have an aftermarket Kydex sheath with excellent retention and just a standard Kydex loop on the back. I like this knife, man. I mean, there's not great, like, this thing is just, I mean, come on. Like, zombie knife. Jesus Christ, that's a knife, yeah. This is a monster, which is consequently how I ended up with things like the Aircrew Rescue, like BK55, the BK7, the BK16, the BK18, is because this is just cool. And this was, like I said, if you were into the EDC world, the bushcraft survival bug out bag world that was like 2012, 2013, 2014, this is the knife in everybody's bag. The Becker BK2. Because when you need to chop down a tree and then leverage open a door, accept no substitutes. This is the shit. Like, this was the knife. And then everybody modded them out. The traction coatings got removed. They all patinaed up really nicely. You know, aftermarket scales became a thing. People bought different sheaths because the original sheaths suck. But this is like the genesis of what we know now, where you get really cool stuff. Was the Becker BK2, one of the first true blue, like, go fuck yourself knives that there is. If this thing gets dull, I can beat you to death with it. So, I mean, yes, that's the thing. Need a grappling hook or a boat anchor? Still got it. So it's awesome. We've come a long way from that kind of a Becker line to this Becker line. You see I've got a much thinner blade stock, a much more svelte profile. Still have that high saber grind on this guy, but this is a much more slicey knife that I can still trust to do all those other things. It's rock solid, feels great in the hand. And again, this is the Becker BK18, and it's just wild to me how far we've come, because this is not a small knife, but this is scary. But I love it all the same, because who doesn't need an obnoxiously huge knife? I know I do. So guys, there you go. My favorite top 10 for fixed blade knives. A little bit about the why behind it. If you got any questions, let me know. I'll see what I can do about getting some other stuff. I've got some great videos that are getting ready to come out. So guys, take care of yourself, take care of each other, like, subscribe, tell a friend. I'm Uncle Freedom. Until next time, I'll see you later.